This is Dave Knows MMA.
It's not breaking news that MMA in 2017 is in an era where what fighters say in interviews and on Twitter is largely considered every bit as important, if not even more important than the actual performances inside the cage. I often heard people refer to it as the entertainment era. I've considered it the McGregor era. Whatever you want to call it, as it stands right now, words speak louder than actions. It's commonplace to see an athlete landing themselves in an advantageous position based on cutting a promo that garners attention of media and fans on social media over a fighter who has let their performances do their bidding. And I don't mean to come off as sounding like I'm complaining about this. I'm just stating the facts. This is the way the things are for the time being. Though I guess it shouldn't be a surprise, considering the owners of the biggest MMA promotion in the world is the largest talent agency in Tinseltown. The UFC has literally gone Hollywood. The current owners aren't true hardcore fans of MMA like the previous owners were. They're folks who are in the business of selling movie and music concert tickets. So it shouldn't be a surprise to see that they value entertainment and sales over the hierarchy of contenders and champions at the highest level of mixed martial arts. So that most certainly is an influence on fighters, and I don't blame them. In this game, you have a small window of opportunity to work with to make the best living possible. So you got to do what you got to do, but fighters feeling the need to carry on with the disingenuous and fabricated trash talk and feuds has reached its boiling point. And in my opinion, it's more insufferable than it has ever been. But it's not just the new owner's values that are affecting the game in this way. It's the relationship between MMA and pro wrestling being more prevalent than it's ever been that's having quite the influence. I'm not the type of fan that denies the relationship between the two entities. I acknowledge that these two are cousins and that the origin of mixed martial arts has been tied to pro wrestling since day one. And I'm not ashamed of it in the least. Many moons ago, I was a wrestling fan, and I appreciate how difficult it is to do and how tough those guys and girls are and why people are into it. I would say that a meaningful percentage of MMA fans are, or at least at one time, were fans of wrestling, which is why I'm guessing that I'm hearing a lot of the two being tied together a whole lot lately. I don't even watch WWE or pro wrestling, but the few times over the years I flicked it on, it did not take long at all to see the influence MMA has had. I'm not just talking about what takes place in the ring, but the production of the shows in general. On numerous occasions, I've put wrestling on in passing, and I could not believe how much was taken from our sport. As a hardcore fan, it's so obvious. And that's great. Without question, we've been borrowing a hell of a lot from wrestling as well. And I'm not just talking about the wrestlers that have crossed over from MMA, but the business model of self-promotion. I've said my part on trash talking in the past, so I'm not trying to rehash that. I'm just saying that pro wrestling's influence on MMA is more widespread than it has ever been. Between the trash talk and promos on the mic being of the utmost importance, fighters feeling the need to stir up drama out of something that doesn't even exist when the camera and mic is on, because of all of the people that are out there that love to use wrestling terminology for MMA, whether it's a fighter doing a shoot, working an angle, being a mark, or referring to someone as a heel. These two are more intertwined than they have ever been. And why shouldn't they be? They're both forms of entertainment taking place where two individuals step into the ring or cage, and most of the time, one person wins and one person loses. There's a very important distinction to make between the two, however. In mixed martial arts, fighters spend months preparing for a specific time and date, adjusting their daily lives, diet, and training, with the sole purpose of having the best performance they possibly can when the competition finally arrives. They accept that a win could catapult them into a very favorable position, and they accept that a loss could have a very negative impact on not just their career, but the financial situation and, in turn, their daily lives. Never mind the fact that they could end up knocked unconscious, choked unconscious, cut, and suffer broken bones anywhere imaginable, including their face. And if that isn't bad enough, have it broadcasted on live television for the whole world to see. What takes place in MMA isn't scripted. It's a contest between two highly skilled athletes that takes months of preparation. The serious injuries that occur don't happen by accident. The goal is to do damage. The core of the entertainment of this sport is the performances of the fighters in the cage, not the personas or the gimmicks that they create. Wrestling is insanely tough. And these injuries can and do occur in that world as well. But I think it's safe to say that there's a very big difference between the two. I appreciate wrestling and its relationship with MMA, but I feel like it's gotten to be way too much over the past couple of years in terms of its influence and how similar they've become. I think it's time to dial it back a bit. And I feel like a lot of fans and fighters are starting to grow tired of this whole thing. It's hot at the moment, but I'm thinking we're on the cusp of it cooling off and moving on to whatever the next phase may be. It's time for our sport to not be so impressionable and go our own direction. MMA isn't WWE.